Alright everybody, this is Mr. Land here. Just want to show you this quick video just to introduce you a little bit to Canvas, especially the way that you're going to use Canvas for our virtual students. Okay, so you're not going to have to meet with virtual students on the every day, every moment, every class period kind of a thing. You don't even have to come up with specific new individual assignments for them. What you're going to do though is they're going to be logging into Canvas every day. And you can see this is the sort of home screen here, and it's set up in modules, so they're supposed to kind of just follow these modules straight through, and so they'll be able to do everything that they need to do right here in Canvas, including they have little tests and different things that are going to give them grades. So the biggest couple of things that you're going to need to do is one, just be somewhat kind of familiar. I mean, if they're asking you specific questions about a book that you're not reading, then obviously you don't necessarily have to give them specific questions about that. Just help them as much as you can. Just so you're aware of what they have going on, you can log in here and look, and this will be your home page whenever you log in, or you can click on the modules button and it'll show up right there as well. So if you're somewhere else and you're like, where do I go? Click on the modules button. When you're in here, there's several things that are going to be important for you right off the bat, and we're going to talk about a lot more of this if you want to use it in your own class later on, and you can play around. Like I said, especially for the virtual students, at least leave most of the stuff that's just set up the way that it kind of is. If you want to add some things, or if you want to adapt some things, or even just use some assignments in class for your in-class students, that's totally fine, and we can do that, and we'll talk through about how to do that. But this is I do want to just make sure that we don't delete anything, because I want to make sure that all this stuff is still here in order for our virtual students as they're completing this stuff. Okay, so you can click on the modules and see kind of how they're going through, and it's going to pace them, how they're supposed to go through and do it. And I'm going to talk through all that with them, so you don't have to worry about that. But what you will need to do is you'll be the one who's putting in grades for these students. Okay, so what you're going to do is use a couple different ways you can do this. So you're going to click on the People tab first if you want to, and I need you to check and just see which student. You just compare your students to your rosters, and just make sure that I'm not missing. So I'm sure I'll be missing some students. Okay, so just make sure that your in-class and virtual students are all in here. I'm pretty sure I have them, most of them in, but I know there'll be a few that got missed. A lot of times it'll be students who were having trouble with name situations, or who came late, something like that. Just got messed up in the different rosters I was looking at. So just double check on that for me. Send me a list of names of anybody who needs that to be added, and then the other thing that you're going to do whenever you need to find your grades, and you're needing to put in a few grades for your virtual students, you don't have to put in every single grade that's in here, but you'll click that grades tab right over there on the left hand side, and it's going to bring you to a grade book, and it's going to have plenty of grades for you. So what I would encourage you to do is don't necessarily tell them in advance, but you can see the ones that are just kind of classwork grades. Just pull some of those classwork grades to give them a grade for, just at random. Just be consistent on the ones that you choose. And then they have quizzes and projects and tests in there as well. So I would definitely put the tests in there. Pick a couple of the classwork grades to put in there, that kind of thing. And that's really gonna help you guys out. It may also be the kind of thing, this is a language arts class, but it may be the kind of thing where if you're a social studies teacher, you find the unit that you're working on and just do a grade that's in common with the ones that you're doing with your students in person. But we can talk about that moving forward. The biggest thing is you just want to make sure there's not tons and tons of restrictions on you for this. They're going to be putting in a lot of grades on here, getting a ton of grades. You're going to pick the ones that you want. Just be consistent with which ones you pick, and put those in the grade book. Okay, so that's going to be the way that those grades are going to work. The other thing I would definitely want to double check is you definitely, like, when when the grades are going out, you want it to be pretty close to what their grade is in the grade book in Canvas. So if you've picked only 3 or 4 grades and you picked all bad grades for one student and all the rest of their grades are really good and they pulled their grade up a lot, you definitely just want to look at that, maybe even do some overrides or something, because you want to give them pretty close as grade as possible to what they're getting in here in their grade book. because that's what they're genuinely earning. So just keep that in mind as we're getting close to grades going out and grades being due and that kind of thing. But this is where you can pull those grades from. One way that I'm going to try to encourage you to make it a little easier on yourself, and you don't have to do this, but this is just something I might suggest for you. When you go to back to the main course, if you click on People, you can go up here where it says Groups. And I would create, since all of your students for the entire grade are in just one class, one course, they're in your course, I would encourage you to set a group and just add your students to that group. Again, you don't have to. If you're like, that's too much work, I would rather just do it on when I'm putting my grades in. That's totally fine. I probably would have done that same thing. But I know that some of you would be like, is there any way that I can put them specifically into specific classes? And yes, absolutely. The way that you do that is you come in here and you create a group. You add in all your students from each period into that group. And that way you can assign, when you're doing your assignments, if later on, like I said, we're getting into something that's not necessarily virtual students now, but I know that some of you are setting up your class, so I just wanted to show you how this works. With the virtual students, don't even worry about it. They're just going to get the grade that they get. But with your in-class students, if you want to set them up in classes, this is how you would do it. You would just come to this group page, click on Group Set, call them first period or second period or whatever you want to call them. And the easiest way to do it may be to allow self-sign up, and then they can just sign into the group themselves. And then you'll create the group, and then that way whenever you come to the assignments tab later on, if you're making something a specific assignment for that group, you can assign it to that group specifically, okay? So we just encourage you to check that out. You're welcome, like I said, to play around in here. I just mainly wanted to show you where you're going to go when you log in, to come to the People tab, to double check your role, to make sure that your students are in here. And then where you're going to go when you click on grades, that's where all their grades are going to be. You can pull grades in from those virtual students, okay? So we'll deal with some of the other stuff later on. You can look around, play around in Canvas a little bit, come up with any questions that you may have for me, and I'll try to walk around. And you send me an email if you want, and I'll be happy to come and talk with you and show you if you need me to come by and show you something, or if you're having trouble with something. But we'll walk you through it a little bit, and then we're going to have more professional development later on, probably next week sometime. But until then, I just want you to be able to get in, find your grade book, be able to put in some of those grades for those virtual students as we're going. But hopefully this will, I know it's learning a little bit of something new, but hopefully it'll take something off of you not having to log in and deal with virtual students in every single class period every single day. Okay, so hopefully that helps. If you have any questions or any concerns or you need any help with anything, please reach out to me. Happy to help you. All right. Have a nice day.